Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the end of season episode, unfortunately, of the Exit 52's coverage for the 2024-2025 Baltimore Ravens, as the Ravens fall short again to the Buffalo Bills, 27-25 in heartbreaking fashion, which is going to take a long time to, I think, deal with for fans, for players, for coaches, and everyone in between. It was a devastating game in several ways, and it was tough watching a Baltimore Ravens team fight back from down 11 following a tough defensive pass interference call on third down in Ravens territory. The Bills get a first down on it, go punch it in, and the Ravens fought all the way back, man, all the way to the brink of tying the game. And, of course, the play that will live in infamy, Lamar Jackson drives 89 yards, 88 yards. Rashad Bateman gets hurt. Tylan Wallace makes a play. Isaiah Likely makes a play. Lamar Jackson makes a lot of plays in the second half and in the fourth quarter to score a touchdown, 27-25. And then, of course, Mark Andrews, the Ravens' all-time franchise leader in scrimmage touchdowns, set that record this year. Someone who fought through injury to get back to the AFC Championship game last year, where the Ravens fell short in somewhat similar fashion, and goes through a car accident this year, fights back, ends up going on a crazy run of scoring touchdowns, sets the Ravens franchise record for consecutive games with a scrimmage touchdown, drops the 2-point conversion right at the goal line off of his fingertips to lose and end the Ravens season. So it couldn't have gone down in a much tougher fashion. Mark Andrews, of course, dealing with the blowback of that, I'm sure, and the ire of fans and media and everyone alike. And you got to pray for that guy, man, who you can tell is devastated. Just watched Hard Knocks. You can see it in the episode. But just unbelievable. I mean, I feel for the guy. Unfortunately, has been such a dynamic player for the Ravens for so long, going back to 2018, going back to, I think, week 11 maybe. The Ravens travel to Carson City or wherever the hell the Chargers were playing at the time, and Lamar throws a strike down the sideline to Mark Andrews, who rumbles and scores a 60-some-odd touchdown, 60-something yard touchdown to propel the Ravens, and they make the playoffs and make this great run that kind of starts this chapter of this era of Ravens football with Lamar Jackson under center. And unfortunately, to this point, has just not been a factor in the playoffs in any positive way. And it's mystifying that someone who, like I mentioned, is the franchise's all-time leader in touchdowns just had such a bad game, has not been successful in the playoffs, and that is how the Ravens season ended, right? It felt surreal. I was there in the stadium. Felt surreal. That's how it ended. The Ravens made some mistakes, and we'll get into that, but they fought all the way back. They've got stops and scores and stops and scores. They make a big goal line stand. Josh Allen, who already had 2 rushing touchdowns, goes and flexes into the crowd, and then the Ravens buck him on 3rd and 2. The Bills wisely, in the end, kick a field goal and drive all the way down the field and score. So it's brutal. It's brutal. And, I try to personally not always be the biggest fan in the world. I definitely am a big fan of the Ravens, but this one hurt. It's been a tough year personally in some ways for me, and it was tough heading up there to Buffalo and watching those guys fall short like that. But at the end of the day, it is just a game, but a game that we care about a lot and invest a lot emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and financially or fiscally into. So brutal. going up to Buffalo. The Bills, I believe, finished the year 10-0 at home in Highmark Stadium, go undefeated as they will prevail and head to Kansas City to go fight the back-to-back defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. And to start there, I suppose, it's difficult because to me, while these games didn't play out exactly the same, you go look at what did the Bills do in this game? Sustained a couple drives, ran the ball well enough. Had a couple, they had a 16-yard Ray Davis run, like an 11-yard Ray Davis run. They converted in short yardage. Josh Allen threw one pass that traveled further than 7 air yards. Completed one pass that traveled further than 7 yards in the air. And it was on the Bills' opening drive, frankly. So that kind of just the parallels to the way the Ravens lost in the AFC Championship, where the kind of self-inflicted wounds and turnovers offensively lead to scores. Lamar Jackson's fumble in both of those games. I think the Ravens might have even gotten off the field after that Amenahue won. But, go down. They make plays in both those games. They probably outproduce in terms of explosive. Well, they do. They outproduce in terms of explosive plays and highlights, and they move the ball and yards per play and quarterback rating and this and this and this, and don't get it done. The Bills just kind of cruised, man. They kind of ran the ball and got some good field position. They had some turnovers fall in their lap, and it was unspectacular, but they won the game. Bills had under 300 total yards. They averaged, I think, 4.1 yards a carry. 2 of those carries are Josh Allen Neal, so maybe it was more towards like 4.4 yards per carry. But I think it's frustrating because the game that Patrick Mahomes played against the Ravens and the game that Josh Allen played against the Ravens in their 2 playoff losses, both were, boring. And I think Ravens fans want to see the Ravens win boring, and they just don't. And you go look at the other side of the conference, the Commanders win, and that certainly wasn't boring, a high-flying affair there against the Lions and devastate them. But the Eagles, man, just ran the football, dink and dunk underneath, made a couple more plays, I guess, win the game. So it's difficult because I think as a fan that's invested emotionally, you always want someone to blame, right? So who do you blame in this one? You look to Mark Andrews, obviously. You look to Lamar Jackson's turnovers. You look to maybe, the failed 2-point conversions, which I'll get into. But it just was weird. It was a weird loss. And you feel like the Ravens maybe outplayed the Bills in ways, but the Bills outcalmed the Ravens. So, I clipped some plays and things like that. There's a lot of good to point to. Guys like Tylan Wallace, guys like Tavius Robinson, guys like Justice Hill, Derrick Henry running hard. Isaiah Likely, man, has stood on 10 fingers and toes and certainly will continue to be a huge feature of what the Ravens do. But it's just tough to kind of sputter out and have your opponent just kind of watch you sink into quicksand in some ways. So where do the Ravens go from here? It's tough. I guess we can get into the game itself. When you look back, how did they lose? Well, Ravens opening drive, they march down the field, score a touchdown, decisive, great throw and catch, soft spot recognition. Rashad Bateman has really turned into a smart receiver this year and finishes the year with 11 touchdowns between the regular and postseason, something that I think a lot of folks would have said would never happen, where he was, last year and the year before with injuries and trying to recover from that. Bills get the football back, and the one play that Bills really made, I mean, they had a couple nice runs, but the one play they made through the air especially was 3rd and 8. The Bills, I think, dialed up a perfect call, and I think people blame Brandon Stevens here and could get into it. Maybe I'll bring this play up and break it down. Screw it. But it looked like the Ravens, get a split safety look out there on the field. They kind of disguise it a little tiny bit. Let me see if I can find this one. They disguise a split safety look, and yeah, I've got this play up. Give me one quick second. And the Bills just attacked it. I think the Bills knew what they were going to get, and it was the one play where it felt like the Bills kind of outperformed the Ravens, and I think it was such a crucial play here because let me see if I can find the right one here. There we go. Such a crucial play. We're going to see the Bills go and spread. You can see the Ravens kind of aligning. They don't move their safeties. You can see Roquan Smith running out with the running back, which tells you that those safeties are going to stay deep in some way. And where do you attack? Cover two? Right between it. Right between those safeties. And Brandon Stevens, you can kind of see here, does stop. I think he was expecting maybe Shakir to sit down. You see Shakir come in motion, gets shoved, and Stevens kind of just hesitates there instead of sticking with him. Maybe he makes the catch anyway. But it was a great way to attack this coverage. And why did the Bills call this play to me? Because I think that they anticipated the Ravens being scared of probably their outside corners. And that's what you call to protect your outside corners, right? You put the pressure on your safeties a little bit. So right up the hole there, Allen holds the ball just a little bit, and right in that little triangle. And Stevens kind of, it's tough. It's a tough ask for anybody to protect a kind of seam route straight up field from that hook in Tampa 2, because your job is to not let up a first down at the sticks. So it would have taken a great play, and Shakir could have made the catch anyway. It was a very confident throw and catch. But I think the Bills just attacked successfully in the tactical, strategic sets. They anticipated what look they would get, and when they got that look, they attacked the weak spot, which is the middle of the football field. And you'll see, Luke Kuechly make plays there, or, Fred Warner over time. That's a tough play to defend. So I think it's easy to shit on Brandon Stevens there, who had an otherwise nice game, had a really tough year in many regards. But I think it was a good play call by the Bills. It was the most aggressive thing they probably did all game. Chucked one up to Keelan Coleman, which got a DPI there. But I thought that was such an important play, because if you don't get that, punt the ball back to the Ravens, who just marched down the field. Nobody wants to play the Ravens down 10-0, down 14-0. And the Bills have been there. It puts you into desperation mode. You can tell what the game plan was for the Bills. They didn't want to play that kind of game offensively. They wanted to keep it calm, cool, ball control, run the ball, flip the ball underneath, get the ball out quickly, mitigate pressure. They didn't want to get into a chaotic game. So that one play there enabled them to end up scoring. And they ran the ball well. I think the Ravens dared them to. And I would say the Ravens probably lost that battle a little bit. The Bills were able to have a lot of successful runs, gaining, 4, 5, 6 yards on first down. Had a couple, almost explosive gains. The one Ray Davis run, they ran the ball pretty well down in like the low red zone. So got to tip your cap there. The Bills have a good offensive line and some smart runners that did things and got it done. But then other than that, that was something the Bills did to the Ravens. Otherwise, it comes down to the interception, which ends up not killing the Ravens. They get the ball back on the 20-yard line, right? So, that doesn't free Lamar Jackson of the fault, who in that Hard Knocks episode, you hear him get into it. He basically just said, he saw Bateman just destroy his man off the line of scrimmage, and Lamar just wanted to throw it up there. I guess he got a little excited and threw the one kind of fucking easy interception that he threw in, what was this, their 19th game? Took 19 games for him to just throw that clear, no doubt interception. So really tough, but Ravens defense able to recover there. Holding call on Deion Dawkins, which I went back and watched. He has like a clean snatch trap, kind of just hammering down on Ajabo's arm, but his left hand was like there, and you can just see it pull, and that's all the ref sees. So, I would probably yell if I was a Bills fan, and I would probably say it was a penalty if I was a Ravens fan, which I am. So I think that's understandable to either impact there. Then from there, Ravens get the ball back, drive down the field a little bit, and kind of this weirdness occurs. On that same drive, I believe Lamar Jackson falls because Tyler Linderbaum gets kind of shocked into the backfield off the snap. The Ravens are trying to run some wide zone. I think it was that same drive. Let me find it. Touchdown, interception. They run the ball at Derrick Henry for 10 yards. Justice Hill runs for 9 yards, who was so explosive in this game. Then he runs again for 11 yards. Lamar scrambles up to the Buffalo 45. And then on first down, Lamar trips and falls off of Linderbaum's foot, which puts him at 2nd and 14. Throws kind of a sketchy, quick pass. The Bills were bringing pressure a lot in the first half to Isaiah Likely, get back to 3rd and 9, and then calmly rip one on a kind of a little traffic drag to Anthony Miller, who cuts up field. Lamar hits Mark Andrews in his hands on first down at the Buffalo 28. You can watch him take his eyes off the football, and it was like up here, and he starts to turn his head, and drop number 1, which gets the Ravens into 2nd and 10. They call an RPO. So I think a lot of people have examined the fumble and examined the, Von Miller return and things like that, but it's 2nd and 10, and I think they tried to calm things down here. I've got the play up. They go to they go 2nd and 10 here. You see them walk out. They go spread. Isaiah Likely motions, kind of stretching things. Justice Hill's been running the ball really well. It felt like when Justice Hill was in the game, the Bills were really willing to vacate the middle of the field here and spread things out. And I think this was just going to probably just be a handoff. There was a numbers advantage to the left, and you can see the line pushes up field. So it was an RPO, and then there was kind of a little Likely bubble, or I think kind of a bubble, flat, whatever, screen, whatever you're going to call it. And instead, it looked like there was a rushing lane there. I'll get to the rest of the play. Lamar tries to, do what he usually always does, make guys miss in the backfield, save the play, turn something negative into something positive. Maybe the footing's a little questionable there. And that leads to you maybe going up 10-7 or 14-7 or something in that regard to instead 14-7 Bills. And the Ravens had to chase a lot after that. But you can see the snap definitely off to the left there. Honestly, a nice play by Lamar Jackson to tip it to himself. Hits that little ball fake there, and there would have been room to run for Justice Hill. Play call looked like it was going to work. Tucks the ball to the left. Tries to maybe get back to his right. I don't know what he wanted to do there. The ball's in his left again, and then he just drops it on the ground. And it just couldn't have been queued up more perfectly. And thankfully, it was a 35-year-old Von Miller and not a 30-year-old Von Miller or any other kind of, secondary player there. Justice Hill with tremendous effort from how far away he is on this play to come trying to hawk it down. He nearly does. And then the Bills kind of just calmly, throw the ball short, get some first downs, run the ball in, and bada bing, bada boom. But, that was tough. Mark Andrews dropped there. Lamar Jackson fumble there. It's tough. But I don't think that's what killed the Ravens, man. I really don't. They go score. It's 14-7. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's 14-7. And, you can talk about emotions and things like that, but it didn't impact the Ravens. They went down further and came all the way back. So I really don't think that was the play that killed them. I think the two plays that utterly killed the Ravens were the defensive pass interference call. And you can blame refs all the time for things and whatever. You can go as deep into that wormhole as you want. But let's see here. I can go find it. Josh Allen, deep left. I think he throws a slot fade to Keon Coleman here, which I'll pull up in one quick second. And this is going to be a far field goal. The Ravens get off the field here, let alone, I don't think you should really be calling offensive pass interference here. People kind of said that. It's the playoffs, let the guys play. But if you're going to let the guys play, let the guys play. And you see Keon Coleman in the slot, number 2 to the top of the field, Shakir motions, and all that space out there just to try and give Coleman that go to the sideline. And this is really only the second aggressive throw of the game. Trey White gets his eyes up. I don't know what this ref sees here really, but that one crushes you because that ends up making it 21-10 going into the half afterwards, as opposed to a stop, as opposed to getting off the field, as opposed to getting the ball back at this point. Let's see how much time's here. There would have been about a minute for the Ravens, Could have driven down the field maybe and scored yourself. Could have been 17-10. Maybe it could have been 17-13. Instead, it's 21-10, right? So you could argue, hey, the Ravens need to go get a stop afterwards, which they didn't. But I thought that one, really put them behind the 8 ball. And then the next one that I think was a lot more self-inflicted, and I think these two plays really, of course, the 2-point conversion and the Mark Andrews fumble, of course, killed the Ravens. But those are kind of obvious. The only other one that I'm going to put blame on this coaching staff for is the Ravens failing to run the football following a Rashad Bateman deep shot. I guess it was a little before this, wasn't it? And that sequence. And I certainly, yep, it was. All right. 1st and goal following a Rashad Bateman bomb here. And I'll honestly just pull the bomb up because I thought it was such a great throw and catch, but wasting that opportunity. So this is before the DPI. I thought this was killer too. And if you want to talk about momentum and believing in momentum and things like that, Ravens go into this kind of pistol, same side sniffer, run like a draw play action. Lamar Jackson rips one to Rashad Bateman. Maybe a touch behind him, but hey, it's cold up there and the ball's a little slick. Maybe could have led him into the end zone a little. Maybe Bateman could have been more aggressive, but he just wanted to secure the catch. And you're not going to blame him for catching the ball and going down to the 2-yard line, right? Almost had, a 2-touchdown first half for Bateman. Thought this was a fantastic throw and catch. A little bit of a creative play call there with some candy in the back and nice clean pocket, rips it right over the safety's head. Awesome throw. But unfortunately, you get into the next one here, 5:22 left, and they run the ball from the 2. I believe one of the linebackers kind of just torpedoes this one, and I didn't love that the Ravens didn't run power here, which they end up running later, but it's fine. Not everything has to be perfectly perfect. I think we see 43 Bernard come torpedo Ricard, and McCary makes a big mess there. So then the next play, I don't know if they thought they had Dan Skipper and they're the fucking Detroit Lions or something. I thought this was the worst mistake that the coaching staff made all day. And you bring in heavy personnel. You've got Tylan Wallace at the bottom of the screen. I believe you have Josh Jones and Charlie Kohler in. You give the run action. The Bills just don't bite on it. Ronnie Stanley's eligible. And it frankly does look like that's where they wanted to throw the ball. And I don't know how much I can't understate how fucking stupid this was, because Ravens fans always are like, should do something creative, do something cool. Run the fucking Wildcat if you want to be creative. Like, plunge the ball in with Henry. Have Henry throw the fucking pop pass running downhill. I bet the linebackers will bite when they see him running downhill, because what did we just watch? We just watched Bernard torpedo inside. All right, well, then sneak Kohler out or sneak Wallace underneath or whatever and see if you can have Henry throw it. But instead, no, you've got him running a fucking flat route. And I'm going to blame Lamar for taking a sack here. That is bad. Throw the ball out of the back of the end zone or something. Rousseau does close so quick here that I think it's a little tough. But Jesus Christ, man, just taking a sack on 2nd and fucking 2 or 3 after that play when you're down is so brutal. So brutal. And I think it shocked the Ravens a little bit. It's loud. It's on the road. The footing's a little weird. So then they come out 3rd and 8. On the 8, they come in super tight. And I don't know what the grand idea was here. Maybe just hope Lamar can extend a play. It's like Andrews running the back line, likely runs a flag route. The Bills just kind of sit in zone. Bateman, kind of found a little bit of a soft spot. I would think the defense probably converges on him, but this just wasn't really anything special either. I don't know. Just disappointing play calling there, following the run stuff on those 2 downs. And, I guess maybe the Ravens thought that Ronnie Stanley would just fucking sneak out there. I just noticed isn't on the field for this play. Josh Jones is a left tackle. But yeah, I don't know, man. I thought that was really stupid. I think that you signed Derrick Henry so that you plunged the ball in with him, which they ended up doing later. He set a franchise record for rushing touchdowns. It's also just like imposing your will at the goal line, which the Bills did twice. I don't know. I think it gives you some confidence to just calm things down. We can go get yards when we want. I mean, run Derrick Henry 4 fucking times in a row. I really don't think it's that hard. I thought that was really stupid. The 2-point conversions were tactically attacking the Bills based on looks that the Ravens got earlier in the game in these situations and expanding out instead of attacking in. I liked those calls overall. I mean, I get, people are like, run Henry, run Lamar. They didn't run Lamar once in this game. I don't know if it was a footing thing. I don't know if it was trying to keep him calm. The read option looking plays where the ball's in the belly, they did have the one play to likely early, which was a massive kind of played off of an option. I think Jim Nantz called it a Statue of Liberty looking play, something like that. It was on the Ravens opening script, 39-yard completion to Isaiah Likely here. You can see them kind of use his legs in the pass game a little bit, and he scrambled okay. So that's why I'm a little confused where they didn't attack the perimeter at all to just put the threat there and expand the Bills a little bit. I mean, they did run the ball well. They ran for like 176 yards or whatever, over 5 a carry. But here you can kind of see this long play action. They get Lamar in space. It expands the defense laterally, which allows them to attack vertically. When you attack side to side, it usually opens up things over top. And I thought his footing was fine. He didn't really, he stumbled off of Linderbaum's leg once, but that was like him getting tripped. So I was a little curious there. Not exactly sure why, but really nice pass there. A couple really nice plays in the first half overall. It wasn't all bad for Lamar Jackson in the first half. But from there, man, I mean, those 2 things, I think that DPI was brutal, and I think that the play calling was brutal, and Lamar taking the sack specifically and not being in 3rd and short still, where you can maybe try and run the ball and then run the ball again, was also brutal. So, the pick hurt, the fumble was bad and gives the lead away, but I just kind of look at those things that happened after. The Andrews drop, the Terrell, I mean, I guess I'll look at the Andrews fumble. I think I got it here. I don't blame Andrews for cutting upfield. He had the ball in the opposite hand. I think Bernard kind of just fucking punched the ball out. And I think when you watch these Ravens games in the playoffs, you're like, why is it never, ever, ever, ever Ravens that are making this play? Like Kyle Hamilton forced a fumble against the Bengals a couple years ago, but I get why Mark Andrews did what he did. Kind of see the defense converging. Everyone's facing him that way. If he just bubbles out, I mean, look at that. He had a block. Might have been able to roll a little bit up the sideline. That's a normal move to make. Everyone's like, fall down. It's like, all right, we were saying that because he got the ball stripped, but the ball's in his outside hand. Bernard just jumps across at the last second and cleanly punches the ball out. So, of course, hindsight's 2020, 2 hands on the football, just go down, whatever. But I didn't think that was anything abnormal. The drop before the Lamar fumble and the drop in the 2-point conversion were horrific. And, it was a shocking play. And of course, they can't fall on either of those. Of course, it's just a gang of Bills on both of them. Man, so it's like, who's the blame? What's the takeaway? I think those couple plays hurt. Mark Andrews killed him. And, there's comments like this, play conservative, win championships. I don't know, man. We've seen it. We've seen the Patriots win 13-3, but we've also seen the Eagles and Chiefs attack each other. I mean, I don't think there's any one way to do anything, but it does seem like right now in this year's NFL, in this iteration of football where the too high safety has caused teams that are good at running the ball to come back around. I mean, the Chiefs are a good running team. The Eagles are a great running team. The Commanders run the ball pretty damn efficiently and in terms of efficiency successfully. The Ravens, of course, So all these kind of teams that were left ran the ball well. The Rams committed to the run game a ton. So I think it's tough. And the Ravens, this is the thing, like, play conservative, yeah. You're hitting guys in the fucking hand and they're dropping the ball. The ball's getting stripped. You're fumbling the ball, like, whatever. There was one, I don't know, stupid. Josh Allen took one sack, and it was kind of a little similar where he got pressured quickly. The play wasn't there. There wasn't a high snap for him to deal with, or a left snap for him to deal with, but he just kind of put two hands on the ball and went down and ate it. I thought, again, not eating a sack when this ball snapped and, taking a sack in the goal line were both brutal. So it's tough. I was up there. I'll go through the Killer Cam says it wasn't high and tight. I mean, it was, man. It was up in his bicep up here. He wasn't, there was no separation. And he had it on the outside shoulder. How many have you seen that play happen this year? I'm guessing you probably watched a lot of football. Have you seen someone jump across and punch the ball out on the other side? I've seen a handful of them in the last year or two, but it's not a super common thing that happens. So brutal there, but way worse was the fucking drop at the end of the game. So they would get it going, and then that would happen. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not here to rag on Mark Andrews, but hasn't produced in the playoffs ever. He'll make a couple catches here and there. It's tough. You see Isaiah Likely, who's a little springier, a little more explosive at this point in his career, and ripping guys up, scoring touchdowns, and making fucking diving catches in the end zone. So, man, brutal. It's just weird. It was a weird game to lose. The Bills didn't do anything. Terrell Bernard did strip them. Matt Milano did smack down a 2-point conversion. Josh Allen did, run tough in the red zone in the goal to go, and, had that early completion to Shakir. And yeah. And then there's these comments. They don't make plays on defense. I don't know. They send pressure. Nate Wiggins, kind of wrestles Josh Allen down. That was a big fucking play. That was making a play. It was getting off the field on third down against a big motherfucker who makes guys miss. The turnovers are one thing. They haven't forced a ton of them. They didn't force a ton this year, but they forced a shitload last year. So I don't know. Turnovers can be a little random, and really, the one thing I look to roster wise would just be like an incredible outside linebacker type, a Khalil Mack type, a Micah Parsons type. That's the only thing I can really think of. Someone that really gets pressure consistently. And it was weird in this game. It was hard to get footing. It's not like the Bills had to blitz to get pressure. It felt like the Ravens had to blitz to get pressure. I think the offensive lines had a little bit of an advantage here. Yeah, now we want bubble screens. Bubble screens win championships. So it's just frustrating, man. You're a fan, you're invested this much, and again, this is kind of 4 brutal losses now. And I'll put those 4 brutal losses as 2019. You're the 1 seed. You get smacked in the mouth by the Titans. You kind of just piss down your leg from start to finish. That was tough to watch, but clearly that team wasn't championship caliber. 2020, the next year, was tough, but I don't know. Again, that team was injured. Ronnie Stanley's out. They have DJ Fluker and fucking Ben Powers and whoever else was over there. They're rotating right tackles. That team struggled to throw the ball a lot. Tough. The Tyler Huntley play, you're probably not going to win a championship that year. That was tough. But these last 2 years kind of are tough in the same way that Ravens fans are familiar with in the Lee Evans, Billy Cundiff, where it was, they made plays, they came back, they're on the road in the cold, and then they fucking pissed the game away. And the Pittsburgh Steelers pick 6, those couple years, those couple losses, the Hushman Zeta drop in Pittsburgh and that 31-24 loss. before the Ravens won the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying that. And we know that, just because the Ravens won in New Orleans 12 years apart, yada, 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 clearly that doesn't fucking matter. And it never did. So those things, that pain is all too familiar. And the Ravens had that one Super Bowl to tide everybody over. But at this point, since then, they had the brutal loss to the Patriots. They had the Steelers Christmas Day game. You have the Tyler Boyd game. You have all these playoff losses in dramatic fashion. And then, hosting the AFC Championship last year and throwing that late interception and not being able to put up more than 10 points was fucking tough. And this game's a little different. This postseason's a little different. They overcame the Steelers, who had given them so much trouble twice, and beat the snot out of them at home. And I don't know, you can shake up a little bit of new blood. I do hate to say it, man, but it's kind of true. Like, you watch Travis Kelce, he fucking plays better in the playoffs. Mark Andrews plays worse. It's less impactful in the postseason than he is in the regular season. It's not something that's easy to quantify, but it's fucking brutal. Yeah, Deuce 1042, that 2014 Flacco playoff, that horrible overthrown interception over Torrey Smith's head. People are like, Torrey Smith should have fought for it more. I mean, sure, whatever. But, and this is the thing, like, people are mad at the Ravens defense. They got put in shitty situations. I mean, they got to stop after the pick. They've stuffed Josh Allen at the 2-yard line, got off the field, gave the offense a chance to go tie the game. I talked about that Nate Wiggins play. I mean, they got off the field. The Bills scored 21 points in the first half, and they scored 21 because of that fucking pass interference. So I'm not mad at the effort that the Ravens defense put forth. Now, was it dominant? No. Was it championship? Not necessarily, but the Ravens offense put them behind the 8 ball a little bit early, and I don't know, man. I don't know. So when you think of the roster construction, things like that, it's like, yeah, sure, would a fucking Jamar Chase help? Micah Parsons help? Sure, but I don't know. I think the biggest factor is probably playing at home. Playing in your own house, your crowd noise, your calmness, your dojo. And I think that's why the Bills were so calm. It was quiet for them to operate. It wasn't very tense. They could sub cleanly. They could hear and communicate at the line of scrimmage. I saw some comments here. I know we got a lot of comments. Would appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe to the channel. I'll kind of go through. Omni Burner, real sad hours. I'm sad, man. I'm real sad. I had to spend 8 hours in the car driving home yesterday from fucking Rochester, New York. It was brutal. Flowers went down, number 1 pass catcher, man. And he did perform other than that fumble, but I mean, shit. That fucking fumble. It's just how many different ways. It's the movie 1,000 Ways to Die in the West, 1,000 Ways to Lose a Football Game in Baltimore, Maryland. How about that? Go ahead and clip that one. The Harbaugh thing, I don't know, man. It's a tough conversation. I don't think they're going to fire him. I think next year will be his last year if they don't, win 2 playoff games, maybe. It's tough because, again, we talked about how much this coaching staff had to overcome this year. They didn't just cruise like last year. They had a lot of turnover. Their defense really struggled. Their offensive line coach, unfortunately, passed away. They dealt with adversity. They were down in the division. They got to the bye week and rattled off wins and won at home in the playoffs and all that stuff. The one question I kind of ask when we talk about playoff wins and losses and legacies and all that bullshit that Nick Wright always fucking talks about. Last year, the Ravens... Last year, the Ravens won 1 playoff game. They had a bye. What if the Ravens this year had a bye and lost to the Bills at home? Like, is that better? Or is that worse that you didn't win in the wild card round? I just don't think, my point here is I just don't think the wild card round really matters unless you lose. And Ravens have only played in the wild card round a couple times here now, but I don't know. I think of that Steelers win, and it was great, and it was fun, and it made everyone feel really good, and it's a classic moment in the Ravens-Steelers rivalry, and, they'd given the Ravens and Lamar Jackson so much trouble, and felt like the Ravens kind of conquered them, but wild card round just kind of fucking doesn't matter. It's the same 4 teams in the AFC that were there last year, which is pretty funny. I don't think a lot of people had it that way, but man, weird. And beat themselves, yeah, I mean, they did, but it was different. It just was different this time. It was even weirder. It was even weirder. They played well. They just turned the ball over early and fucking dropped and got, that Terrell Bernard's fumble that they forced. Just, jeez. And yeah, Chad says here, kind of in shock that it happened so fast, right? It was just done. Season's just done. And I don't know. It was rewarding watching, Lamar Jackson, especially being there in Buffalo, watching the Ravens get that stuff at the goal line. Bills fans are all, oh, game over. Josh is going to take it in. And then they stuff them, get off the field, get the ball back. Watching Lamar without, Rashad Bateman goes down, throwing to fucking Anthony Miller and Tylan Wallace and Isaiah Likely and this kind of, in ways, ragtag bunch at the end of the season. Drives right down the field, no panic, makes a play. The throw to Wallace, getting hit across his body, hitting him in stride. Wallace rumbles. It was awesome. It was really cool to see that drive and with the game on the line, driving down the field and putting it on Mark Andrews, and then he fucking dropped it. And hey, the Bills could have, for all we know, the Bills get a 35-yard DPI or Josh Allen, has a 12-yard scramble and then hits fucking Khalil Shakir and he runs for 31 yards up the sideline and they kick another field goal and win. Sure. But it just, ended on that 2-point conversion. And I ripped Monken apart already. I'm ripping the offensive play call of what they did after that Bateman 42-yard bomb to get him down to the 2. But if you tell anyone who calls plays, hey, I can get your guy open in the end zone, like open, you want to do that? They're going to be like, yeah. Hey, I'm going to give you 2 shots. Both times the guy you want is going to get open. Yeah, I'll take that. But you don't know the rest. Okay, yeah. Guy gets open and gets thrown the ball. Okay, cool. Just, Jesus, fuck. It's just, again, a million ways to lose football games in Baltimore, Maryland. It doesn't make any sense here. Thank you, Jeremy Early. Mark calls this theme 3 crucial plays. He did. And it's like mythical. It's like a mythical fucking catastrophe. And I have this play still up sitting here. Like the amount of times that Mark Andrews plays ended in this. Look on Ronnie Stanley here, 79 to the right in the Bills logo. Lamar Jackson at the end of the game, hands on his helmet. Fumbles, drops, oh no, oh shit. And the Bills did lead the NFL in takeaways, and they did take the ball away. So you have to give him some credit there, right? I mean, Terrell Bernard, hell of a player. He's captain for them, made a play. But tough. I don't really know what this one means. Mindset is the only problem. Again, the Ravens were down on the road in Buffalo. The Lions didn't have any fucking defensive play. I mean, they have no DBs. They're not taking anything away. Yeah, they're confident, and Terry McLaurin's a great player, and Jane Daniels has been spectacular. Has gone as far as Lamar ever has as a rookie. I don't know. So eventually, you blame Harbaugh. Who else is there to blame? Mark Andrews is sucked in the playoffs. You can say, all right, get rid of Mark Andrews, trade him, and fire Harbaugh. Who the fuck are you going to hire now? Ben Johnson's gone. I mean, Liam Cohen. You feel great about that as opposed to Harbaugh? I don't know. Maybe a couple weeks ago. Maybe. Thor Strong has something has to be up with Mark. I don't know. Does he fucking tire himself out pregame? Going crazy running routes in the cold? Yeah. What do the Eagles do special? Nothing. Well, I'll tell you what they do special is have the best offensive line in the last 10 years. Their defensive line's really good. And I think that's a point of contention here for the Ravens getting that line a little better to the point where it's full confidence. I mean, they played well, though. So I don't know, man. Can't turn the ball over in the playoffs. I mean, the last time the Ravens won a Super Bowl, their quarterback turned the ball over? No, he did not. Not once. Joe Flacco didn't turn the ball over once in those 4 games. So if you want to make a 4-game run, having 3 turnovers in 2 games is tough to win in the playoffs with, let alone having 3 turnovers in 1 game there. Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. And that's my favorite comment I've maybe ever seen in this chat. Got to put in the work, keep putting in the work, keep attacking it. And to me, I think the water carrying and the chopping of the wood at this point, I think they chopped the wood of the turnovers against the Steelers and calmed themselves down, and they chopped the wood of allowing explosive plays and what they needed to shift into defensively to be effective enough to allow this offense to win games for them. I think they did that. But now it's less talking about it. It's too much talking about it. When you speak of, we're speaking philosophically here in ways, but when you conjure something up, you're speaking it into existence. Like, we have to take care of the football. We have to take care of the football. Moving forward, it should go without saying, right? Does it need to be said? You need to take care of the fucking football in the National Football League in the playoffs? Or do you just have a little more attention to detail? I mean, it took Todd Monken having to run up on that one drill and be like, you guys aren't putting in the effort to make them take care of the football. That's chopping the wood. That's carrying the water. That's the intensity. And football is the least fun sport to play. It really is. Because it's 95% practice, 5% game. Basketball, not that way. Baseball, maybe. Some of the individual sports, tennis, some of those, but you kind of, I don't know, a little different. So it's all practice, very little game. So you do have to chop the water and carry the wood to get enlightened. And I don't know, man, it's fresh blood, right? That's what stinks. I love Mark Andrews. I love him to death. He's a great Raven, but now he's not. He'll be remembered just as much for that play at this point as he will for every touchdown he's scored in his career combined, I think. So there's 2 avenues. You're like, hey, we love him to death. He's an amazing worker. He's a leader. Everyone looks to him. His teammates fucking love him. He's the hardest worker. And we're going to stand by him and see if he can, shake it off. Or it's like, he's never performed well in 8 playoff games. Maybe it's time to move on. I think both of those are reasonable perspectives to hold. So, yeah, again. And I think I can't understate how much I think it was error not to run the ball 4 times from the 2-yard line. Didn't even have to be. It could have been Justice Hill. Could have been Lamar Jackson keeper. Could have been one more Derrick Henry touch. I really genuinely think that was the big fuck up. It's 4 points, right? When you're chasing, they're chasing. You make a big fucking play down to the 2-yard line. You can't score a touchdown in the postseason. That's how you lose those moments, right? So that one was brutal. And the Ravens did run for, I've got it somewhere here. Ravens they had 23 first downs. They had 13 rushing first downs. They converted 7 out of 10 on 3rd down, 1 out of 1 on 4th down, right? Quarterback sneaks, which should also probably be filtered out of these rushing yard things. They run for 176 yards on 30 carries, 5.9 a carry. And that includes one kneel at the end of the half. That also includes 2 quarterback sneaks for Mark Andrews. So on straight run plays, they averaged over 6 yards a carry. I mean, fucking pounded that rock. Held James Cook, 17 carries, 67 yards. Ray Davis and Ty Johnson each had, one big run. Josh Allen held pretty much completely in check, ends with 147 total yards. So, Better asks, how long do you think John has? This is the last year of his contract. They usually don't do lame duck years, but I think they might this year. I think they might. So I don't know. What do you do from here? I mean, I think I really love that comment. I think you just have to keep chopping wood and carrying water. I mean, they're fucking there. And I mean, Lamar knows he can't turn the ball over like that. You know, you can't put the ball on the ground. Can't throw that fucking pick all hurried. You know, put it where no one can catch it. It was being aggressive there and excited, and it wasn't calm. And like we said, we're watching Hurts and Mahomes and Allen just coast, run the ball, get some first downs, score short yardage touchdowns, that kind of shit. Namdi definitely didn't play up to $100 million, but I thought he was effective this year. I thought he had a solid year. And there's more. They had fucking issues on the back end for over half of the season. And I think that's what doesn't get taken into perspective. Once they fix those, he played a lot better because he's able to actually rush the passer. So if you go look at like his PFF grade and shit, it got way better once they moved Hamilton and Ardarius Washington back there. He started playing a lot better. And I think he had sacks in 4 of the Ravens' final 5 games because they made those fixes after they played the Steelers and some of those things. Had some big games here and there, but wasn't consistent enough overall for $100 million. I think Matabike was solid. He wasn't as good as last year, obviously, but their defense was so horrific in blowing coverages. Someone says here they're talking about Aaron Donald. The Rams secondary was always good. The Ravens had a like borderline historically bad secondary for the first half of this year. The Rams were never that bad. They had fucking Jalen Ramsey and good safety play back there. I think that's a little ridiculous. Do you need better for $100 million? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, trade up for Travis Hunter. That's my immediate thought after the game. Go get a superstar. I think they need one more superstar, man. I think they need a Parsons. I think they need a fucking Trent Williams type player, something like that. But then I come back to at the end of the day, just turn the ball over 3 times in the playoffs. No matter who you have, you're gonna fucking lose. So it's unfortunate, no one's saying he's Aaron Donald, man. Aaron Donald didn't have a $100 million contract. Aaron Donald had a $150 million contract. He was getting paid $30 million a year. Nani Madubuike is not Aaron Donald. He has I made a little stylistic comparison, and it's a good play there. But yeah, Namdi is not making Aaron Donald money if you want to continue fixating on that. He's not. Namdi Madubuike is not even the highest paid fucking defensive tackle in football. Not even that close. Aaron Donald was paid $31 million in 2022. He was paid $40 million in 2018 in cash. Namdi Madubuike. Let's see. Cap number in 2026 is $30 million. And the cap will be 14% higher, 18% higher than it was the year Aaron Donald was paid. Do you think Lamar ever gets to the Super Bowl? I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. And at the end of the day, like the Ravens are inventing ways to lose in the playoffs, but winning 4 straight playoff games, and I don't even care about getting to the Super Bowl. Do you think this felt shitty? Do you think losing in the divisional round on the road felt shitty? Lose a Super Bowl. That probably feels terrible. Terrible, 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 terrible. I just think it's insane. What is with the Namdi Madubuike thing is going on? Is that why the Ravens lost this game? Because Namdi Madubuike got paid last year? I don't understand what that has to fucking do with it. There's no correlation there. I think that's insane. Just please, that's driving me fucking nuts. I'm by myself. And at this point, I'm just talking with the chat. But it's hard to win. The Bills still haven't gotten there. And this is the fucking thing, man. It's brutal because Mahomes, because Allen, because Burrow, because Jackson. Good luck, Justin Herbert. Good luck. I mean, CJ Stroud's gone to the fucking divisional round twice at this point. He's had 2 really good playoff games. If you are not one of those teams, if you are the Jaguars right now, if you are the Colts right now, the Raiders, I mean, shit. The Broncos had Bo Nix just have one of the better rookie quarterback seasons of all time, and have had the top defense in the league. I don't really agree with that sentiment, but on paper they did. The AFC is a damn murderer's row right now. It's tough. Is trading for Garrett Wilson realistic? If you want a Super Bowl loss, I don't know what to tell you. I would rather lose in the divisional round 10 times out of 10 than watch this team lose a Super Bowl. Do not want that. Do not want that. And Joe Burrow's not living off of it. Their fucking loser fans are. Is trading for Garrett Wilson realistic? When do you have to pay him this year? Like this year, this offseason? I guess you can franchise tag him maybe. Let's see, he's under a contract this one last year. Nah. Ravens loosen up a little bit after 2025. After this upcoming season, they loosen up a little bit more. They have Lamar on the books, Marlon on the books, Roquan on the books, Matabike on the books, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the entirety of their cap situation. We can take a look here. They've got $76 million in cap space. They're going to bring in some rookies. That's going to change that. They have 11 draft picks in this. At this point, I mean, going into not this upcoming year, but the year after, 2026, 2027 season, Lamar's got a $74 million cap number. He will not be playing on that. That will be an extension, I would assume. Marlon Humphrey will be either extended or cut. Roquan Smith, I would think something happens there for $28 million, like all these. And Namdi's got to be playing. Namdi's got $30 million due in 2026, so he's got to be playing more towards Aaron Donald there. And then you can say that he's the reason they lost to the Bills in a game they turned the ball over 3 times in. So at this point, every year you're going to be fighting it. And I think there's a perfect comment, Mark. It's more about whoever you have being clean for 4 games or 3 games than it is about, the rookie that they draft this year with the 27th pick. I think that the randomness of the tournament and being able to lock in and having these experiences now, you hope you can learn more from. And I just can't fight this one Twitter comment that I said. It was like, this team is losers. You got to keep shaking it up and shaking it up and shaking it up. So fresh blood, I don't know, man. I do feel horrible for Mark Andrews, but guy's 8 drops in the playoffs. I mean, it's never a fucking factor in the playoffs. Travis Kelce, I saw, and of course Kelce. No, I'm not saying Mark Andrews is Kelce or whatever. It's fair to compare to, a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think Kelce catches 83% of his targets in the postseason, and he only catches like 68 in the regular season. Mark Andrews catches 70% of his regular season targets and only catches like 53 in the postseason. I don't know why that is, but the consequence is not great. And I still genuinely do feel like I'm walking away from this game even more. I don't think Gus Edwards was going to beat the Chiefs with his legs last year. I'm walking away from this game feeling dissatisfied with that goal line sequence so strongly that it is infuriating the more I think of it. I think that is the simplest thing that the Ravens could control that they didn't. Plunging Derrick Henry from the 2. They didn't pitch the ball once the entire game. And that's like, you're willing to run a pass play out of heavy with Ronnie Stanley running a flat. Why don't you fucking pitch the ball? Why don't you run a toss sweep? Why don't you run power? It's what you are. That's what they said. And they don't do it. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Somebody has to get this Ravens team over the hump. And when I say somebody, it's ultimately everybody. It's a team effort. Got to take the ball away, take care of the football on your end, make your kicks, chop wood, carry water, eat your fucking broccoli, and I don't know what else to say. I mean, just keep building up that offensive line. The ultimate team sport. Yeah, Taylor here. Buffalo isn't special. I thought it sucked. I thought it was an awful game to experience. It's like going to a MAC game, kind of. The fans are definitely there. They love the Bills. The fans love the Bills. I was a little taken aback. I mean, enemy territory going in there. I don't know. Maybe it's a little different if you're like a Saints fan going to Buffalo for a game or something. But anyone who was under the age of 40 did not like me, did not like anyone I was with that was Ravens fans. Their Bills Mafia is known for being this really nice, cordial group that's so super sweet and all that shit. I was getting pelted with snowballs. I was getting fucking fuck you, go home. Lamar Jackson's a fucking running back. And I was like, all right, grow the fuck up. That was pretty much it. Anyone who was over the age of about 55 was really sweet. Offering sandwiches and offering beers and drinks. Anyone under about 40, 45, even like the friends of the people I was with kind of were like, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, whatever. I've gone to away games. It's, I don't know. They're a little more coarse than I thought. Yeah, it was not the sweetie pies that they are made out to be. The stadium itself, thank God they're getting a new one. That stadium's a piece of fucking shit. It wasn't that loud in there. It doesn't fit that many people. They don't even show their screens, their jumbotrons. They're not jumbotrons. I'm gonna call them screens. They're so tiny and shitty that they don't even show kicks on them. Like, I didn't know if Tyler Bass made the field goals he made because my perspective wasn't able to tell from being towards the middle. And yeah, it sucked. Shitty stadium. Fans were fucking nasty. I'm sure they enjoy that for themselves. So yeah. You knew this game meant war. They were in it. That's the thing. They weren't even like, it wasn't like going into Philly. It wasn't like that. They're like nice dicks. It wasn't hot. It wasn't hostile enemy territory. They're just like fucking weirdos. I don't know. I don't really care. But stadium sucked. Whatever. I will say. I mean, I hope the Chiefs fucking blow them out. I turned. I fully turned. Yeah. Petter says I hope KC beats them Sunday. And Judge here saying, you know, all these guys are in contract. I think that's an excuse. You can do a lot to make money, to make room if you want here. They have 13 million. They will be cutting Marcus Williams. That will be occurring with the post June 1. They'll save some money there. They have a few options in terms of extensions and restructures. If you want to restructure Lamar Jackson, you can, and then extend him later. If you want to restructure Marlon Humphrey, you can. If you want to cut someone, trade someone, like, there's room to be made. This is not a strong free agent class. Let's see here. Free agents: Diggs, Higgins. Higgins is not going to hit the open market. Javon Hargrave has sucked for 3 years. Keenan Allen's old as dirt. Amari Cooper's getting up there. Chris Godwin's coming off major injury. Khalil Mack, yes, that's a good free agent. Very old. Zach Martin has been beat to shit. Deontay Johnson, LOL. Cam Robinson, no. Hassan Reddick, been a fucking weirdo. Carlton Davis, been injured. Tank Lawrence, Sure. I think that might be a nice quiet move for the Ravens. The center, Ryan Kelly. Ravens have Linderbaum. Judon, old. Justin Reed. Sure. Brandon Scherf, old. I don't know. Weird. Wouldn't be expensive. Like who's the belle of the ball here? I don't know. Ronnie Stanley probably. And then I'd sign Ronnie Stanley to a 3-year deal. Fuck it. If he's healthy. Seems healthy. Seems like he's good to go. So, there's plenty of time to talk about all that stuff. The Ravens have 11 picks. And the last time they had 11 picks, they drafted some guys that made an impact here. We're watching a couple of them start in this game. We see Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, David Ajabo, Travis Jones, Daniel Faalele, Charlie Kohler, Jordan Stout, Isaiah Likely. 9 out of those 11 making an appearance in this game. And out of those, you've got some Pro Bowlers, some All-Pros, some good starters, and some guys that have, stepped up into bigger roles. So all that's great. And Anna C says, put an edge on the credit card and let's get a Super Bowl. Bashotti 65, send Harbaugh out with a... That's all great, man, but then you got to play the single game elimination tournament. Just because you have the best team on paper doesn't mean you win the Super Bowl. It's tough. And yeah, and maybe the best thing is KC three-peating for that to blow over. Maybe. I mean, maybe that gets Kelsey and Reed out of there. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, they played the Jerry Coleman clip. I couldn't even hear it. I didn't even hear it. Their PA is so bad I didn't hear a thing. It's tough. So, and Alex Reed is saying, I wish more people understood that, it's not Madden. That's what I always say. I love Madden. I've played it thousands and thousands, literally probably 5,000 hours of my life I've spent playing Madden. Winning a Super Bowl is more random and requires something a little crazier. I don't know. It requires like mythological luck, almost like spiritual higher fucking luck, unless your name's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, and they are just the chosen ones. So do we want to see that? Honestly, I don't care. I already watched Brady do it 2 separate times. I watched Brady go on these crazy runs 2 separate times. I don't care. I don't care what happens. I really don't want the Bills to win at this point. That's how I feel about that. Yeah. Rod Wave here, coming back after halftime shocked me. They dug deep, and that's what makes it hurt. I mean, that's what'll move you to tears, right? That Lamar Jackson drive at the end of the game, that'll move you to tears, watching Mark Andrews drop that pass in the corner of the end zone. Because so many Ravens fans have wanted him to do it with his arm and prove everyone wrong and prove. But the thing that I take some solace in, and maybe makes me feel like a crybaby, is that they still would have had to win 2 more games. You still would have had to beat the Chiefs and then beat the Eagles or the Commanders. So, it would have been great. It would have been great, right? If the Ravens tied the game and, get a stop and get the ball in overtime, and Lamar throws a fucking seam ball to Isaiah Likely to send the Bills packing. And then what happens if they go lose in KC? Everybody says the same fucking thing. Same thing. So brutal way to end the season, though. Derrick Henry, man, coming here, putting up 2,000 scrimmage yards and breaking franchise records. The season Lamar had, Aaron Rodgers in his prime while running for 900 yards, and the highlights and the primetime games and the Steelers and the lights and the night shows and all of those things. It was special. It was a great year. And again, I ripped John Harbaugh pretty heavy after last year, but I thought this was, one of the few. It's been here a long time. I think this is one of the 2 or 3 best jobs he's done, righting the ship, especially mid-season, especially in the last decade of his tenure here. overcame a lot of brain drain, offensive line and coach issues, secondary. Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams are acting out. Deontay Johnson comes in here and acts like a fucking asshole. And they pushed through. They won the division. They won, their home playoff game. And that's what makes it tough. That's what makes it tough. They go up to Buffalo and just barely can't push it to the brink. So tough, man. And at this point, it felt like this whole season, Ravens fans were just waiting for the playoffs, right? If you're a Ravens fan, you're like, AFC Championship, I want to see if they can go past that. I want to see if they can go win a Super Bowl. And again, please don't say go to the Super Bowl. That is not the fucking goal. The goal is not to go lose a Super Bowl, but to win one. So, there was some turmoil early. People are calling for jobs and Lamar and Derrick Henry's waste money, whatever. They do it. They get through. The regular season is exciting. They whip the Steelers' ass. And then, you fall short again. So I'm sure many folks will spend the next year waiting to get back to pretty much like the divisional round and on. And it's a spoiled place to be as a fan, but it's also a maddening place to be, right? If you're a Ravens fan, where you're not really excited too much by what goes on in the regular season, and you haven't had anything to hold your hat on other than a playoff game here and there. They beat the Texans, they beat the Steelers. So it's tough. It's I think you're spoiled if you complain, but you're boring if you are just sitting around waiting. So where does it put you? In a weird spot. I mean, it was gross. Sabry face here, watching Lamar and Mark on Hart. It was gross to watch. I mean, I'll be frank, it brought some tears to my eyes. Watching Mark Andrews sit there, he puts his helmet back on. I'll tell you, for playing football, why you do that, to hide the tears, man. I got made fun of for saying that, I think like 5 years ago on this podcast. You put your helmet on, though, to, hide your face a little bit. And then he just elbowed the bench and just shut down. Special teams need to be fixed. People are talking about here. Yeah, Alex Rita, go to the Super Bowl means you're thinking too much about Lamar and then in the media. Fully agreed. Fully agreed. It's, fuck that. Win a fucking trophy to bring to the city of Baltimore and to be great forever. Do you think Greg Fritz, do you think the Burrow and the Bengals feel good about their Super Bowl appearance? So, well, and that's the thing. Some of them do. Some of them have their fucking Lamar Hunt rings or whatever, the fake ones. That's because they've never won a Super Bowl. So, special teams have been horrible because they have all rookies playing special teams. That's why they always kick the ball to the back of the end zone. Special teams are actually much better down the stretch. Stat was a little better. I thought kick coverage was a little better. They cut down the penalties. Got a couple nice returns here and there. But the Ravens had so many young guys on special teams early in the year that they were just like, we're getting touchbacks here. So I think that requires a little perspective, but they could be a little better. I don't really understand the comments about that. The AFC rings, yeah, that's not what I'm here for. I'd rather have my eyeballs ripped out than watch the Ravens win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, Taylor Hodges here. The parade going down Pratt is more important than what Nick Wright, I'm saying Nick Wright, he says any more on ESPN says about the Ravens quarterback. Justice Hill ran like a man possessed. Really did. Barreled through DeMar Hamlin, had some big-time cuts. He was tough. He looked like he had the best footing of anyone. It looked like he really had some traction and some friction and was getting forward lean. Gets me fired up. His runs he had to get me fired up when I watched him on tape. Had me going, woo, hoo, hoo. Got me feeling nicey. So, Killer Cam, you're talking about the special teams. Yeah, punt return, and kick return. Those are the special teams. Punt got a little better at the end. Punt return was not great. They didn't have a returner. Hardy was supposed to be their guy. He gets hurt. They bring Sims in. He had a nice return in this game. Sims had like a 17-yard return. Kick return, they had some explosive ones late in the season. I think they were a lot better down the stretch. Hill and Bateman contracts are fire. Again, shout out to Bateman. If you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, I was so high on him in the draft and so high on his potential, and it's been such an up and down ride for him with the injuries mainly. And to stay healthy and produce the way he did, and even had a couple bumps in the road. The Browns game early on, the sun gets in his eyes. The Raiders game, everybody blames pick on him. And then the man just went on a tear, 8 touchdowns in 9 games, touchdowns in both playoff games, has the monster catch. He was getting open, man. He was getting big time open. I think he could have been an even bigger part of this offense in hindsight. And I think he is in line for a really fucking great year next year. He is a smart wide receiver. He's smart and he is talented in his releases and at the stem. And I think there's more to be had after the catch. I think he's in that point of trying to find homeostasis of what weight to carry and what does that look like strength-wise, all those things. And yeah, he showed up when it mattered. So fired up for him moving forward. This draft class, man, has a lot of edge rushers that I like. I think that's a good place for the Ravens to start. We'll see what happens with Ronnie Stanley. But they're not losing a ton, man. They're not losing a ton. Under contract next year, Ravens have a lot, man. They've got, let's see here. Let's see, quarterback. You've got Lamar Jackson, of course. At running back, you've got Derrick Henry for next year with a cool $6 million. What's his total cap hit here? Cap number is pretty high, $13 million. I wonder if they might. I could see them extending him. And if he wants to play here, why not? They could push $6 million of that with an extension. Why not extend him one more year? I don't think he's going to slow down next year at all. And that could give you some change. I think he's a great extension candidate. At tight end, Mark Andrews, that's a big question, right? They're not going to, I don't think they're going to cut him. I think they would try to trade him. If they traded him pre-June 1st, it would save them $11 million with $6 million dead, which I believe is spread over the next 2 years. If they trade him post, it's the same. Wide receiver, you've, of course, got Zay Flowers. You've, of course, got Rashad Bateman, as we just discussed. You've got Tez Walker, so they do need to make some additions or retention there. I could see them using the fourth year option on Malik Harrison, which lowers his cap number but gets him more cash. Same thing. Then across the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley, a free agent. Pat McCary, also a free agent. The Ravens do have Andrew Voorhees, who's been waiting in the wings there. Started the year as a starter and got hurt and kind of ceded that job to McCary. So could definitely see him being a viable starter with another offseason coming off of that injury. Basically his rookie year this year. Tyler Linderbaum at the pivot. Falele, it's fine. Fine role there. I mean, I don't know that he came into his body a little bit better down the stretch, and good on them for not, listening to me. Not that they ever do or ever hear what I say, but I could see him rolling again next year. And then, of course, Roger Rosengarten, Justice Hill, also still under contract. If I'm not mistaken here, he has a $2.4 million hit. I think that might be the last year of his deal. I could see that. No, he's under contract 2026 as well. So he's got 2 years. I could see them extending Henry there. On the other side of the football, you have Odafe Owe playing on his 5th year. He has a $13 million cap hit. If they were to extend him, that could create up to $10 million in space. So Owe might want to bet on himself there. I wouldn't be surprised if an extension wouldn't surprise me, and it wouldn't surprise me the other way as well. Kyle Van Noy under contract next year is a $6 million cap hit. All these guys, man, all these kind of older guys could save a little money with an extension of Van Noy or moving some money around a little bit. In some regards, some of those guys. Tucker still there. Then they do have David Ajabo. They do have Tavius Robinson. In terms of the interior offensive line or defensive line, Nnamdi Madubuike has a $16 million cap hit next year. So apparently that's Aaron Donald-like money. He needs to be playing like Aaron Donald there. $16 million cap hit. They do have Michael Pierce under contract. They do have Broderick Washington under contract, who kind of got bullied in this game a little bit. He didn't have that great of a year. He was fine. He's fine. Isaiah Likely, I didn't mention on the other side of the ball. Certainly could be an extension candidate. Charlie Kohler as well, of course. Then into the secondary and linebackers, Roquan Smith under contract. Malik Harrison is not. The Ravens do have Trenton Simpson under contract for next year, who is pretty disappointing. I thought he was going to have a nice year. I had a little bit of a tough time in coverage, but first real year as a starter. Wouldn't be shocked to see him develop a little bit. Wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't. At safety, you do have Kyle Hamilton. You have a restricted free agent in Ardarius Washington. Marcus Williams is under contract for next year. Is he under contract? No, it's voided out now. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what's going on with his contract. I think they're cutting him. That's all I know. I think he's done. But Bo Brady under contract. Sanusi Kane under contract here. So not missing a ton, man. Not missing a ton. Jalen Armour Davis, Nate Wiggins, Brandon Stevens, a free agent. Definitely think he's going to be walking there. So not a ton to lose other than really, just kind of looking at Ronnie Stanley. It's really the one big key chess piece here. And he played well. Who knows, man? Jaguars might throw $80 million at him. Does that fucking surprise anyone? He's one of the better free agent tackles to hit the open market in the last 5 years. I mean, he's coming off a healthy season from a good team. He, is a veteran that has experience in a winning culture around a great quarterback. So I'm not shocked if they lose him on a monster deal, and that puts you in a weird spot at left tackle. There's not a ton of free agents. There's Cam Robinson. That's not very good. There's a couple in the draft. That's always a fickle bitch. So we'll see. Maybe Ronnie wants to come back. Maybe he fucking doesn't. Maybe he wants to go get a giant bag. He might have thought he would get a lot more money by now, but then again, he has been paid a metric shitload of dollars. Let's see if I can find his. Ravens do have a void year on him. I think $8 million. He has been paid $104 million in cash to this point by the Baltimore Ravens. So he has made a lot of money. So we'll see. We shall see. Willie Gay, Garnett says here. Willie Gay, that's a favorite of mine. I do love me some Willie Gay. But I don't even know what the hell happened to him this year. It's in the Titans? Saints. Christ. I don't even know. Seems like he didn't really play much at all. Heard very little about Mr. Willie Gay. So, yeah, man, brutal. Been going on an hour and a half here. Yeah, Rosengarten could swing to the other side. That's a good point. Man. Tough. Year, 7 for Lamar Jackson. After getting the 1 seed and winning MVP in 2019, I don't think a ton of Ravens fans thought that the Ravens would be, sitting here in year 7 without that ring, that Lombardi trophy, but time to dredge on, carry the water, chop the wood. 11 picks in the draft, a little bit of finagling to do in free agency. Free agency is for losers. I do want to remind you of that. Free agency is for where you fucked up and having to overpay to replace it, which the perfect example is the Ravens couldn't find a safety, so they signed Eric Weddle, who then wore down, and then they didn't find a safety, so they signed Earl Thomas, who was an asshole. So then they signed Marcus Williams, who got hurt, and then whatever the hell happened with him. So the Ravens have dumped a shitload of money in free agency into finding safeties over the last decade and didn't find one until a UDFA by the name of Ardarius Washington stepped up for them. So did something dumb with Orlando Brown, did something dumb with Zeitler. I wonder what they'll do with Ronnie. At the end of the day, Ronnie and Orlando Brown are interchangeable. It's not crazy. Zeitler, at the end of the day, the Ravens don't win. I don't think the Ravens win or lose because of Zeitler. Maybe their offensive line's better in week 1 against Kansas City, and maybe they beat Kansas City. And maybe they have the 1 seed, they play a home game against someone else or against the Bills, and maybe. Never know. Yeah, Eddie Jackson, signed him in free agency. Fucking sucked. So maybe they draft Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Maybe they drafted Kyle Hamilton. That went well. So hopefully this was helpful to talk about, but I don't know, man. It's pretty depressing. I feel pretty depressed about it myself. Obviously went up there and sucks. Thought this was going to be a special year as the Ravens overcame their demons, got that buy-in, didn't turn the ball over for 4 games. Thought that shit was out of their system, and it wasn't. They, the Lamar fumble really, was so absurd. The way that it spit out, the way that he coughed it up into the Bills on the run, into 3 of them, scooped and running, off and running, was so ridiculous. Just, fucking Rumble in the Jungle Part 2. So he's got I hate to say it, it's got to be better. Lamar Jackson has to be better. Has to be cleaner. The coaching staff takes responsibility for that. The offensive coordinator takes responsibility for that, and he does himself as well, of course, too. So I can live with the pick. I really can't live with the fumble and then that goal line bullshit. The pick, it happened. You had a bad read. Josh Allen yucked the ball up. He jumped and yucked one up that Kyle Hamilton, who knows, could have ran down. But the turnovers, you have killed them. Every single fucking playoff loss. And what did I say? The Bills, they get killed by teams running the ball on them, and the Ravens ran the ball on them. And I cited all those stats. When you run for 150 yards in the playoffs, you win 85% of the time. The Ravens somehow managed to be on that 15% of the fucking time. Why? Because of turnovers. So how do you not turn the ball over? There's randomness to it. Guys, the Mark Andrews, Terrell Bernard one, he punched the ball out, but the one with Lamar, man, you're the quarterback, got to fucking take care of that shit, bro. Got to take care of the football. So don't know what else to say about it. They've done a nice job putting a team around him, but I look at the Eagles and look at what, Howie Roseman's done, and it does feel like they're able to elevate what is around Jalen Hurts to the point that he doesn't have to do anything. He makes plays and he gets way too much shit, but he can really chill, run the football, get protected, scramble, throw to some open guys, and it's working in the playoffs. And we'll see. We'll see if the Eagles can take that formula beyond. Part of that is drafting and developing guys. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson. They find Jordan Mailata. They bring in Cam Jurgens behind Jason Kelsey. They've got a good group there. Mekhi Becton, somebody that can slot in, is a castaway that's really talented on that offensive line. They've done the same thing on their defensive line. And, I kind of look to the Eagles as a model for what the Ravens need to achieve to be able to play that boring game in the playoffs where they still win. So, Mindwater here. What happened to the fake dive bootleg Lamar run? Instead, they called play action on the 2. So, tough one to swallow, man. This one's going to hurt for a long time. I'll never get. My own personal story. Me and my older brothers always did something called the no look. Did it when the Ravens won the Super Bowl. I was fortunate enough to go to that game. My mom took out a loan so me and my brothers could go. Bless her heart. And we would all do something the no look. And it would work. We did the no look, 4th and goal. Colin Kaepernick threw it up to Michael Crabtree. I didn't see that happen live because I put my eyes in my lap. And I did that for the 2-point conversion and heard the crowd roar. And then I said to the guy behind me, Cole kind of ran out and left me because he had to go meet up with guys to drive back to Canada. So he was going to watch the end of the game with them, and said, what happened? And they were like, Mark Andrews dropped it in the end zone. And I don't think I'll forget that for a long time. So the no look is officially dead. Doesn't work anymore. It used to work a lot. And yeah, man. And there's these comments too, like Lombardi is a Lamborghini, needs to do the speed limit. He did the speed limit at the end of the game, bro. He checked out. It was third and 2. He checked down to Justice Hill for 3 yards. Rolled out, found Tylan Wallace. Chilled in the pocket, didn't do anything crazy, calmed himself, got his legs nice and wide, fired one to Isaiah Likely. He went the speed limit at the end of the 4th quarter. He went the speed limit. Fucking went too slow. Mark Andrews, Chris Sims is on fucking Kay Adams' show ripping him because he went 1, 2 and threw it in Mark Andrews' lap. He's like, no, you got to fire us. He's like, did everything he could, man. Did everything he could. Jake is in Mexico. He couldn't be on the show. But I think these comments are crazy. We've watched him be a game manager, man. He's had 4 picks this year. 4 picks. Takes care of the ball. They're good in the red zone. He hands the ball off to Derrick Henry. I mean, they're fucking fine. He checks into runs. I think that stuff's crazy, but so slick came. I mean, what happened against the Steelers? Ran the ball, took care of himself, threw the ball to open guys. Just fucking playing in single game elimination tournament, man. It is what it is. Well, I've been going on long enough. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's a sad one. Ravens fall short. 27-25. Another year where, you hope for better, but I would say just try to embrace the fun of football and don't let this discourage you too much as a fan. Winning championships is rare. Unfortunately, the Ravens haven't been one of those few dynasties in the NFL to this point. Throughout my lifetime, we kind of saw the Patriots. The Chiefs are amidst a run right now, and I was born towards the tail end of the 49ers being one. So in my life, I've seen kind of maybe 3 dynasties, and my team hasn't had one. So there's about 28 other teams that have not been. And that's not here to shit on you as a fan, but just a little perspective. But try to enjoy, have some fun. Don't let this season be all shitty. Go watch some highlights of some games they won and some fun efforts over the Steelers and things like that. I mean, that game was fantastic. So don't let it get you down. And hopefully, I think we're going to call this episode Chop Wood and Carry Water. Because that's what the Ravens need to do. Keep doing it. With that, you can follow the show at Exit52 on Twitter. You can find Barstool Banks at Barstool Banks. You can find Taylor at Taylor Smythe. You can find Jake at Jake Luke. That's Louque. You can find me at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4. You can find Eric for all your Orioles coverage. Oh, God, I don't want to think about the Orioles. I don't care about them anymore. EDI, 22. Please like and subscribe. Easiest way to support the boys. Thank you to everyone who left some tips and everything that you guys did to try and get me up to Buffalo. Sorry I couldn't bring home a dub. Sorry the Ravens couldn't bring one home. But with that, my friends, that is a show. That is a season, sadly. But we will be here throughout the offseason for agency, draft, training camp. We'll keep chopping wood and we'll keep carrying water. Appreciate you guys. And I'll say see ya. And I'll say arrivederci.